Hey everybody, TC Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, and am I ever so excited that you've tuned in tonight, and what a night this is going to be. I've got my very good friend, JL Ferren, as a guest tonight on the show. JL is an incredible business leader that helps us with the God Made Millionaire message, our community, and what we're up to. We've got some incredible information. He's an incredible leader. I can't wait for you to meet him. So without any further ado, let's crack open the vault and let's get our show started. J.L. Ferren, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me again.
J.L. Ferren, for those of you watching at home, he's the Chief Executive Officer of our company, God Made Millionaire. He runs so much, does so much for us. We're so thankful for that, J.L. And I'm thankful for your service as well. I never wanted to miss an opportunity to thank you for your service. There's something completely different about a combat vet. So thank you so much. Why don't you just share with the folks at home a little bit about your military background, because it's fascinating to me.
Yep. Well, basically, as far as my military background, I was in the military for 5.5 years, the United States Army. I did transportation management. I served in Kuwait for about 2 years. And over there, we had a lot of missions as far as doing convoy operations and ship operations. So I worked with a lot of generals and officers as well as my unit, and we had a lot of major responsibilities over there.
You had a very high security clearance, didn't you? If you're working with the generals, right?
Right.
You got to have a very high security clearance, is that right?
Yeah, I did have a secret clearance. Some things I can't discuss, obviously, but you know, the reality was that it was a highly important job. You know, a lot of lives at stake when it came to other soldiers that were out there, and so we had to provide that combat support.
I want you to share the story, if you would, about how you got into that incredible position. It wasn't what you initially wanted in the beginning, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Right. So lay it out for the people watching at home.
It was kind of surreal because the reality was that I was in a position, training for a specific position, dealing with transportation. Somebody kind of came in and outranked me, and they took that position from me and said that they wanted it. And so, you know, the position that they were putting me in, which is dealing with dispatching and so forth, that was something I never experienced, never trained for, knew nothing about, you know, and I had 2 weeks to learn it, and then I had to take it on my own, you know what I mean? So
and you didn't have a good attitude about it.
I didn't have a good, I was very upset. I was very angry because I had some plans for that position later on down the road when I got out the military and, you know, being able to get a job and so forth, and so just threw everything off. But what it actually did, you know, the way God works, you know what I mean? It actually shifted me to an even better position. I was able to step into my element as being a leader.
Right. J.L., why do you think that those that have served in the military, and if you have served, we honor you here on this show, if you've served in the military, any branch, but J.L., why is it, do you think, that those that have served in the military are drawn towards entrepreneurship and leadership type positions? Why do you think that is?
You know, leadership is pretty much at the core heart of the military. You know what I mean? We create leaders in the military. You know, and you're a non-commissioned officer, they say NCOs lead the way. And so when you're in a leadership position, such as an entrepreneur, it goes together so smoothly. The transition is easy, that people want to be able to lead and be able to lead by example and provide purpose, motivation, and direction. That's what they teach us in the military. And you do that as an entrepreneur. You have to do that if you want to run your company successfully. Right.
What do you think is a key leadership trait that is non-negotiable for an entrepreneur?
Integrity. Integrity to me is everything when it comes to being a leader. It goes into how you treat people at the company, how you treat your customer, how you just treat other people that you come in contact with. At the end of the day, integrity, every value that you have in your company should come off of integrity.
Right. JL, I'm very happy that you said that. It's one of the things that has put more money in my bank account than any other marketing strategy, advertising strategy, has been honoring my word and my agreements.
Absolutely.
So many people want the latest marketing strategy or Facebook strategy or how we can generate sales, and they don't pay attention. We're living in an hour and a time where people will speak words that they have no intention of backing up. And I grew up in an era with my father and with my grandfather and that generation where a man's word was his bond,
Right.
where it meant everything. When I paid attention to my words that I speak and agreements that I made, we call it accountability to your word, and to the smallest degree. And you know, in the military, in the special ops community, accountability to your word means everything. You've got to be completely squared away, you know, before you go on any of those ops at all.
No doubt about
Accountability to your word means everything. And I think that we're living in a time where people say things just to say them, and they have no intention of backing up what they've said.
Right.
They have no intention. And I'm talking about to the littlest degree. You know, like when Vicky would say to me, hey, will you take out the garbage, right? And I say, yeah, I'll take out the garbage. But then I get caught up in a business call or something happening, and then I forget that I had agreed to do that.
Right.
And then I'm like, 5 hours later, she goes, what happened? I thought you told me you were going to do that. Now, you may think at home, well, that's being extreme. No, it's not. It's not being extreme. It's talking about when you say something to somebody, when you are speaking that word, you want to honor that word, because it's then when you become a man or a woman that does that, J.O., I think that God honors that in such a powerful way. Would you agree with this?
I would totally agree, and I would say that you've been mentoring me for over 15 years, and one thing that I remember that you told me is about when you are accountable with the small things, you'll be more accountable with the big things in your life, and I think that's incredibly important.
Right. I mean, even in business, because this show is dedicated to people who have God-given dreams, and a lot of faith-based entrepreneurs, and even in business, we'll make agreements that we have no intention of ever honoring in our life. Like, you come across somebody you don't like, for instance, right? You don't like them. And they say, hey, let's go have lunch. And you go, yeah, we'll have lunch sometime. And you have no intention of having lunch. But you put that out there. And I think when you don't honor your word and your agreements, I think that what that does is it injures and it harms your core being. And I've had people in business, listen, I've had people in business, and I know you have as well, that they make an agreement, they say that they're going to do something, and they place no value in that word.
And see, it's businesses like that that make it bad for good businesses, good ethical businesses, because a lot of people, when they go into a business they're not familiar with, they become skeptical right away. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's certain things that business has to translate through to that person and communicate to that person through their message to get them to understand that, no, I'm not like those other unethical businesses. I stand on certain principles, integrity, accountability being two of them.
Right. Well, you don't have integrity because you say that you have integrity.
Right.
And I want to take the listening audience back. You were there when we were investing in real estate. And I would invest in properties all across the country without ever seeing these properties in person. We would do that. We had a program that would teach people how we did that, and I would do that, and I would call and speak to homeowners over the phone, and I would agree to buy a house right over the phone without seeing the property. Now, you could research the property, and now this is like a common practice in real estate investing. This happens all the time. It wasn't happening all the time when we were doing it back in that day. But my ability to get on the phone and have a conversation, people know, they have an intuitive knowing if you're somebody that honors your word and your agreements, or if you're just a Johnny-come-lately trying to get in the back of your wallet, in your back pocket, to get your money.
Right. And here's another thing you taught me, TC, is that when you're talking on the phone and communicating with somebody, they should be able to hear the truth in your voice. Truth has a distinct sound.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you're, like you said, it's one thing to say you have integrity, but another thing for it to come from your heart.
Right.
And, you know, the reality is that can translate over the phone at any point, and people can pick up on that.
Right. I think truth does have a distinctive sound to it, J.O., and I think people will hear that, and it conveys. You know, we get that on our website all the time. We were getting it back with the first website that I launched that did over $1 million in sales.
Right.
I would have people that would contact us and say, you know what? I don't normally go to a website. I don't normally even go to these types of websites, but there was something different about your site, something different about you that is different. And I think that favor, when we talk about the favor of God being on a business, I think God favors business leaders and business owners that do take very seriously their word and their agreements.
No doubt about it.
I think he favors people like that.
Absolutely. And, you know, the reality is that when he favors those type of people and they're able to bless other people, you know what I mean? It's just a ripple effect, you know, throughout his kingdom. Right.
Well, J.O., talk a little bit about how important your faith is to you as a leader. What role does your faith play in your business career, in your leadership style of leading GodMadeMillionaire.com and our company?
It's at the center of everything that I do, everything that I believe in. I mean, you know, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, he is precious and important to me, you know what I mean? And I stand on that day and night. You know, I'll defend the Bible to my death. You know what I mean? You see me get on debates online and stuff like that. I mean, my faith, I take it very serious and want to pass that on to my children. You know, Jerron, Essence, and Leanna, you know,
throw a shout out to them.
Jerron, Essence, and Leanna, y'all already know.
That's right. That's right.
Faith is at the center of, you know, our family, and it's important because the reality is that, you know, we live in a society where they try to take hope away from people.
Right.
They try to rip it out of their heart, and that's not what God is about. When you have a business and you know that God is behind that, you can use that as your motivation to continue to move forward and bless others.
This show has been incredible.
Right.
The response, you've been on the front lines more than I have, you know, with some of the response to how people are perceiving the show that we're doing, the people that have appeared on the show.
Right.
We started with a dream.
Right.
Right. We started with a dream, and look what has become of this dream. It's amazing what God has done and is doing through people.
Right.
And every time you've come, and we've come here to tape, it seems like we're going to another level, But tell the people at home, you know, what your experience is. From your viewpoint, some of the feedback that we've gotten on the show and from the leaders that we've been very fortunate to feature on our show.
Well, like you said, TC, this started out as a dream. And, you know, for me to be a part of this and, you know, see how everything is just unfolding, you know, I see God all over this. With our guests, when they come on the show and they just tell me how great the experience was, how thankful they are, and your line of questioning, how good that was. And now when we actually be able to, you know, present the show to the world, I've gotten tons of feedback from people that, you know, have never seen the show before, and it's the first time seeing it. Everybody that has seen the show has loved the show.
Right.
No doubt about it.
I think our number one complaint about the show is that it's too short.
Too short.
Yeah, it goes by so quickly.
Right.
You know, I want to honor you for your faith in business.
Thank you.
And I want to encourage you at home that part of the secret to success is you have to align yourself with people of faith.
Right.
Because, J.O., when you and I talk about business and we talk about some of the things that we have planned for GodMadeMillionaire.com, and some of the mentoring programs we're going to be bringing into the marketplace. We talk about business almost 100% of the time. You're bringing in a spiritual side, the God connection to what's just happening. We may have a change in schedule, and you see the God in that change of schedule, or we have something happen in business. The first thing you do automatically off the jump is you're saying, that's God.
Right.
This is God doing this, and this is why this is happening, or this is why this didn't happen.
Right.
And if you're going to be successful at home, you better get you some people, some God people in your organization, in your business, or some counsel that you can talk to that can give you and see not what they see with their physical eyes, but in the spirit realm, they're able to look and say, hey, that's God.
Right.
TC, that's God, JL.
Absolutely.
So I acknowledge that in you, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. I mean, to me, it seems like everything has been intentional. Everything has had purpose behind it and the meaning behind it. I've been able to spot it because of the fact that everything that has unfolded the way it has, even the guests on our show.
Right.
You know, even the guests on our show, specific people that God has called to say, you know what, go ahead and commit to being on that show.
Right.
They may have never seen the show before, but the reality is when they come on this show, you know, God is just, you know, speaking into them and speaking to the nations about what it is that he's done in their life and how they can bless others. So it's incredible.
So here's what I want you to do now. I want you to talk about this mandate that I feel I've been given from the Lord about this show and about God Made Millionaire, because I'm unapologetic, as you know. You've known me for 15 years. There's no such thing as a self-made millionaire. All wealth comes from the Lord. And this God Made Millionaire, when it was launched, God had spoken to my heart and said there was going to be 1,000 God Made Millionaires that come through this work that we're doing, through the book, and this was before we even had a TV show. So there was 1,000 God Made Millionaires, and JL, I discounted it. I was like, no, that's ego, because of course, who wouldn't want that type of impact and influence and result for God's people? And I said, no, that's not me. That's not God. That was me. And I discounted it, and I published my book before we had the show. And then a man of God came up to me and said, hey, God told me to tell you 1,000 people, at a minimum, maybe more, certainly not less, 1,000, that God was going to create literally 1,000 God Made Millionaires through what we are doing here. And then I got the message. I was like, okay, Lord, I got it. I got it. So I added that into the book, and I started speaking it. I started declaring it. And JL, what's happened since I started declaring that and letting people know about that? Can you talk about that?
Yep, they're raising their hand. We've got people raising their hands. Everything that we're doing is so much bigger than us, and God is calling people and giving them the vision to be able to carry out, you know, their assignment, whatever that assignment may be. And it's $1 million assignment. It's $1 million assignment.
It's not 100. Let's be clear about this. We're not saying $100,000. We're not saying that God has called you to do $100,000. Speaking to those of you listening at home, that when I said it, something inside of you jumped. There was something, and it wasn't that taco that you had for lunch. Something was activated in your spirit, and you know that you've been called to be one of those 1,000 God Made Millionaires that God is raising up. You're right. It's not somebody, and God bless you if you've been called to $100,000 and really God-given dreams are not necessarily financial, but I do know what I was told, and once we started sharing this, once I started letting people know about what God had given me, my God, people are raising their hand going, hey, I am one of the 1,000 that God is calling.
When they make that call, somebody has to answer.
Somebody
has to answer. And, you know, our website, GodMadeMillionaire.com, is now in a position where we can be able to mentor others and be able to provide the purpose, motivation, and direction, that leadership I told you about from the military that I learned about. We can position our website to do that. That's the vision I have for GodMadeMillionaire.com, is to take it to a level where somebody may have a business and want to take their business to the next level. Well, God Made Millionaire can help them get there, and they can become one of the 1,000.
Actually, you've actually created a section on the website specifically for those of you sitting at home, and you're the one raising your hand going, actually, you're not sitting, you're pacing right now in the kitchen. Now, you're pacing back and forth going, I'm one of the 1,000, TC. I'm one of the 1,000, JL. You're pacing. So here's what you need to do. You need to go to that link that we have up on the site that you've created, JL, because we've got a battle plan.
That's right.
Is that right? We got
That's right.
We put together a battle plan for you, because if you are, we want to be able to help you in achieving that, right, JL?
Absolutely. Just about 6 simple steps on that page that they have to follow. And once they get through that list, they will be on their way to being one of the 1,000. Absolutely. What we have in place can actually help you. These are secrets that you've used over the years and spiritual laws that you've invested in and that you've taken the time to go through that have generated you millions of dollars. And
right.
It's incredible because we know it's biblical. We know there's proof behind it. We know God's behind it. And the reality is that, people that God have called can be able to get that out there in their own way.
It's interesting, J.O. I had a woman that reached out to me on LinkedIn, and she said she didn't have the resources to invest in her business.
Right.
Because as you know, we run a publishing business. If
Right.
you have a book inside of you and you want to get that published, that's part of what we do besides a TV show. And she said she didn't have the necessary resources to invest in her business, which is understandable. But here's the part that I want to point out. She said, but I am a life coach, and if you want my help to taking your business to the next level, book a strategy session with me. And I'm like, I responded to her and I said, how does that work? You don't have the resources
Right.
to take your business to another level, but you want to coach me
Right.
on how to take my life and my business to another level. How can you go where you haven't been?
Right.
How can you go? So, yes, you are correct. We are putting together that mentoring program for people that have been called as one of those 1,000 God Made Millionaires. And you feel it and you know it. And we don't have to talk you into it. It's not one of these things where we're going to cheerlead you on. Either you've been called or you haven't. And business, would you agree, business is a calling?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Business is definitely a calling. But the thing is that when you don't bring people into your life that can, support you and help you and get you to the next level, you might feel lost. You might feel discouraged, like you don't know where you're going with it. You might lose sight of that vision that God has given you. And for me, again, having been mentored for 15 years, I know how important a mentor is to me.
Right.
So there's a lot of times where I might have gotten off track, and my mentor, you, Vicky, have gotten me right back on track. You know what I mean? And every time you got me back on track,
it wasn't always nice.
No, it wasn't always nice.
No, it wasn't. How important is our Facebook community that we have for the God Made Millionaire?
Oh, the Facebook community is incredible. I mean, we share a lot of things with them, and we get great feedback. The comments, the likes, the shares. I mean, that's incredibly important to us because it shows the social proof.
Right. JL, we're going to be wrapping up, but I want to give you an opportunity to speak to the folks at home one last time. Give them a message of hope and inspiration, those that are listening right now.
Absolutely. If you've been called to be a God-made millionaire, one of the 1,000, you'll know that you've been called because there's three things. You'll get the divine inspiration from God. You'll have the divine providence. You'll have that divine appointment. And I feel like this is a divine appointment right now. You're not watching this by accident. I told you, God doesn't do anything by accident. It's not by coincidence. It's intentional. And the reality is that as you're watching this right now, God is calling you, and I can feel it right now through this camera that he's calling you, he's pulling on your heartstrings, and that he knows that he wants you to be a part of this. So if you need to be a part of this, you go ahead and make the decision, raise your hand, become one of the 1,000 God Made Millionaires.
And let us know.
Let us know, absolutely.
All right. J.O. Ferren, CEO of GodMadeMillionaire.com. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Everybody, thank you so much for tuning into our show this week. And do I ever have a word burning within me for somebody watching the show as we wrap things up on this week's show. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the secret components of wealth generation and walking in your destiny is the principle of wealth is attracted to speed. Wealth is attracted to speed. Wealth is attracted to prosperity. Success is attracted to speed. The quicker that you can get the revelation, the divine providence moving in your life and take the action with what you've been inspired to do, the more wealth that you're going to be able to create in your life. What most people would do, and we've all had those moments in our life, where we're sitting there minding our own business and divine providence moves and you get divine revelation and you know that you've been given $1 million idea. You just know it in your heart, you know it in your spirit that God has downloaded this dream within you. Now, my point to you in teaching you this is the quicker you can execute on that dream, the quicker that you can execute on that inspiration, the more money you're going to generate. You want to know why that is? You want to know why that is? It's very simple. What will happen is the longer that you wait to execute on what you've been given, the more time you have for that little fat man up on your shoulder to whisper in your ears and talk you out of it. The longer that you take to execute on that dream, the more opportunity you have to talk yourself out of it. You don't go to GodMadeMillionaire.com. You don't raise your hand up in the air and say, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it quickly. So what you do is, what happens is a little fat man comes up on your shoulder. Who do you think you are? Talking about your past, talking about your limitations, talking about all your failures that you failed at before now. Who am I to go on T.C. Bradley's God Made Millionaire TV show? Who are you? You're called by God. If you've been given a dream in your heart, in your spirit, this is the platform to share it with the nations. Wealth is attracted to speed. It always has been. Take the action, baby. Plant your flag. Stake your claim. Be bold. Be courageous. Be decisive and walk in your dream. I'm getting fired up now. I feel my strength coming, but we got to get out of here. Somebody hit my music. Hey everybody, T.C. Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, and I was thinking the other day of how my life was profoundly impacted and changed for the better when I published my first book, Supernatural Success. Within 45 days of publishing that book, I signed a major TV deal to feature and promote my book on that TV show. After that, I published another book, got invited back to another TV show. If you're watching this video, listen. You've been given a God-given dream to publish a book. He's given you an assignment to do, and like me, you want to try to talk yourself out of it. I didn't talk myself out of it, and my life was profoundly changed. I want to help you publish your book. If you've been given a God-given dream, an assignment to publish your book, well, we have a publishing company designed specifically from A to Z to handle all of those details for you. All you need to do right now at this point is set an appointment up with our publishing company so that we can talk to you about bringing your book to the marketplace and your voice to the nations on our show, God Made Millionaire TV, as a published author.